What if the man who once wished Ghislaine Maxwell well, while she rotted in a 20-year cell for trafficking minors, now watches helplessly as his own Republican rubber-stamp Congress, after months of his mafia-style bullying and shut-down sabotage, unanimously blasts the Epstein Files bill straight to his desk, leaving him no choice but to sign the noose around his own neck? Imagine Donald J. Trump, the stable genius who dismissed demands for transparency as a Democrat hoax and engineered America's longest government shutdown just to delay one signature, reduced to a cornered rat on Truth Social, ranting about beautiful bills and trillions invested, while the Senate's unanimous consent vote on November 18, 2025, echoes like a guillotine blade falling on his fragile facade. And here's the satirical sledgehammer that shatters his MAGA mythos. After a House vote of 427-1, yes, 427-1, with only Louisiana's Clay Higgins playing lone dissenter in a clown show of cowardice, the Senate didn't even bother with a roll call, opting for unanimous consent that deemed the bill passed the instant it hit their floor. All because Chuck Schumer called the bluff of Trump's Senate lapdogs who feared looking like pedophile protectors on live TV. America, this isn't democracy, it's divine comedy, a farce where Trump's "drain the swamp" slogan drowns him in his own sewage, as survivors blow kisses from the gallery, and even Marjorie Taylor Greene, his once fawning QAnon queen, signs on to expose the elite enablers he so desperately shields. The spectacle unfolding on Capitol Hill this week is the kind of poetic justice that Shakespeare would envy, a tragicomedy where the villain, our spray-tanned sovereign of sleaze, flails like a fish on a hook of his own making, gasping for air in a tank of transparency he never saw coming. Picture the scene on November 18th. The House chamber, that hallowed hall of hot air, erupts in a 427-1 thunderclap, the lone no from Clay Higgins, a Louisiana lunkhead who babbled about innocent people being hurt, as if Epstein's victims were collateral damage in Trump's ego war. Survivors like Jenalisa Jones and Annie Farmer, seated in the gallery with photos of their younger, shattered selves, rise in tears and applause, blowing kisses to lawmakers who finally mustered the spine to defy their overlord. Thomas Massie, the Kentucky contrarian with a libertarian streak wider than Trump's tie, thunders from the floor, "Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. If you're a party to that, you are part of this cover-up. Some of them need to go to prison." Even Green, the Georgia firebrand who once peddled Jewish space lasers and QAnon fever dreams, breaks ranks to co-sponsor, her signature a scarlet letter on Trump's crumbling cult. It's a bipartisan betrayal that would make Nixon's plumbers weep. Republicans like Massey and Green, the very feral faithful Trump groomed to devour dissent, now feasting on his facade of fearlessness. Across the rotunda, Chuck Schumer, that sly Brooklyn fox with a poker face sharper than a subpoena, springs his trap with the elegance of a matador dodging horns. At 5:18 p.m., mere hours after the House's hammer falls, Schumer strides to the well and invokes unanimous consent. The American people have waited long enough. Jeffrey Epstein's victims have waited long enough. Let the truth come out. No objections. Not one. John Thune, the South Dakota stooge who fancies himself Senate Majority Leader, had been whispering sweet nothings about methodical amendments to protect victims, but with the House's 427-1 mandate echoing like thunder, and Trump himself flip-flopping from hoax to "I'll sign it" over the weekend, Thune's bluster evaporates faster than Trump's hair in a hurricane. The bill is deemed passed the instant it hits the Senate desk. No debate, no delays, no desperate dodges. Schumer's ultimatum earlier that day, "I'm putting this on the floor at 5 o'clock, object if you dare," was a masterclass in political judo, flipping MAGA's momentum into a self-inflicted faceplant. They were afraid of that, Schumer later crowed to reporters. They knew the power. They relented. And just like that, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, demanding the DOJ disgorge every unclassified scrap on Epstein and Maxwell within 30 days, barrels toward Trump's desk, leaving Mike Johnson to transmit it or twist in the wind of his own obstruction. Oh, the irony is richer than Trump's Mar-a-Lago menu, a banquet of hypocrisy served on a platter of panic. Trump, the self-styled tough guy who bragged about grabbing women and dodging Vietnam with bone spurs, now cowers behind victim protections as flimsy as his crowd size claims. For months, he orchestrated the 43-day shutdown apocalypse, longest in history, not over borders or bucks, but to keep Adelita Grijalva unsworn, that single Arizona Democrat whose oath would tip the discharge petition to 218 signatures. Johnson, the Louisiana lightweight who quotes Leviticus while legislating lies, kept the House dark for 53 days, a vacation longer than the shutdown, whining about serious deficiencies and plotting amendments with Thune to water it down. Republicans are the only party trying to make a material difference in ensuring maximum transparency. Johnson bloviated, as if his party's history of hiding Trump's taxes, redacting Mueller reports, and stonewalling subpoenas screamed, "Open book." Massey eviscerated that nonsense. If you're mucking with this bill, you are part of this cover-up. Survivors know that. Some of them need to go to prison. The contradictions compound like compound interest on Trump's ballooning debt. The man who flew on Epstein's Lolita Express 7 times, who partied at his Manhattan mansion, who hosted him at Mar-a-Lago until the staff-stealing fairy tale kicked in, debunked by 2,000 photos showing Epstein their post-dash ban, now decries the files as a hoax timed to detract from his victories. Victories? Like the shutdown that furloughed 800,000 workers, spiked food insecurity to 47 million, and tanked his economic approval to 33%? Or the tariffs that jacked egg prices 337% and electricity 28%, forcing working moms to choose between formula and rent? Trump's Truth Social tantrum on November 18th was peak pathos. I don't care when the Senate passes the House bill. I just don't want Republicans to take their eyes off all of the victories: closed borders, no men and women's sports, ending DEI, stopping Biden's inflation, biggest tax cuts, trillions invested. Lies layered on lunacy, borders porous, trans bans botched in courts, DEI dying a slow death in blue states, inflation sticky at 3.1% thanks to his trade wars, tax cuts ballooning the deficit to $38 trillion, and trillions invested. A fever dream from a man whose investments bankrupted 6 casinos. This Epstein escapade is Trump's Waterloo in slow motion, a self-inflicted wound festering with the pus of his past. For months, he and his minions, Bondi, Patel, Blanche, deployed the Situation Room like a mob confab to strong-arm Boebert and Mace into withdrawing signatures. Vague threats, promises of perks, the full Trump toolkit of coercion. Boebert, the Colorado cut-up who's weathered her own scandals, stiffened. If there's a conspiracy to conceal, I'm not part of it. Mace, a rape survivor whose trauma forged her fire, penned a letter that scorched the page. This is deeply personal. Even Green, the Georgia Gorgon who once called Trump her king, signed on, her QAnon ghost demanding "save the children" over "save the senator." Trump's flip-flop? From hoax to "I'll sign it" in 48 hours, a U-turn so sharp it left skid marks on his dignity. Why? Base backlash? Polls showing 70% of Republicans demanding release. QAnon forums frothing with deep state cover-up accusations aimed at their own White House. The satire stings like salt in an open ulcer. The drain the swamp demagogue, architect of the January 6th insurrection, now swims in his own effluent, bullying survivors' advocates while his party bolts. Johnson, that pious pretender who prayed away the shutdown, now prays for a miracle as the bill hurtles toward Trump's desk. Expected Wednesday morning, per Thune's timid timeline. Will Johnson delay transmission? The pressure cooker boils. Schumer vows heat full blast if he dawdles, and with the House's 427-1 mandate, even MAGA Mike can't afford to look like the villain in a pedophile plot. Trump's vow to sign, as reliable as his perfect phone call with Zelensky. Who knows with him? Schumer shrugged. He can change his mind on a whim. Indeed, the man who pardoned 77 January 6 thugs at midnight might midnight veto this too, forcing an override where his own party fractures further. This isn't politics. It's purgatory for victims like Virginia Giuffre, who spent hours with Trump at Epstein's lair per the emails, her silence the dog that hasn't barked until now. Annie Farmer and Jenalisa Jones, gallery guests who hugged and wept as the gavel fell, represent millions silenced by elite enablers. Trump's nothing to hide. A laughable lie from a man whose flight logs fill 7 pages, who called Epstein a terrific guy in 2002, who wished Maxwell well in 2020. The files, flight manifests, financials, victim statements, aren't hoax. They're horror, a ledger of lust listing lords like Trump, Clinton, Gates, and who knows who else. Bondi's DOJ has 30 days post-signing to disgorge them in searchable format, but Trump's recent investigation into Clinton and J.P. Morgan smells like selective sabotage, a smokescreen to redact his own stains. Envision the Oval at dusk, Trump alone with his Diet Coke 4, scrolling Truth Social as notifications explode with "sign it or resign" from his base. Aides scatter like roaches. Johnson sweats on the phone. Thune temporizes. The man who mocked Sleepy Joe now dozes in meetings, his energy a facade for frailty. This bill isn't victory. Its verdict, a congressional castration of his cover-up cult. The broader rot. Trump's leadership as Lord of the Flies. Chaotic, cannibalistic, collapsing under its own weight. Shut down starve snap while he golfs. Tariffs tax tacos while he toasts tycoons. Epstein entanglements expose his elite exemptions while he rails against elites. The man who alone can fix it fixes nothing. His beautiful bill, a tax cut Trojan horse for the 1%, leaving 47 million food insecure. Approval at 39% overall, 33% on economy. Numbers that scream failure. Yet he rants about trillions invested, like a Ponzi schemer at the end. This Epstein endgame is Trump's tragedy. A tyrant toppled by transparency he can't throttle. The files fall, the facade crumbles. Good riddance to the grifter-in-chief. May the truth be his undoing.